Oh, hi, and Soul Pie. Welcome back to Let's Play Katawa Shoujo. Let us continue on our bad ending route with, poor little Hanako. But, yeah, let's continue on. I pull my door closed, ready for another day of classes. Sleep well? Kenji's sudden arrival makes me jump, and I narrowly avoid butting heads with him. I know he has poor eyesight, but he knows who I am now. Does he still have to stand this close? Oh, yeah, like a baby. And why do people say that? Have you ever heard of baby sleep? They scream all night, every night. Babies don't sleep well, ever. Well, there goes my restful state. I have to remember to never use figures of speech with Kenji. Alright, I get your point. What's a figure of speech? Yeah, sure, whatever. Where were you last night? I had a favor to ask you, but you weren't around. For a split second, I considered telling Kenji the truth, that I was spending time with Hanako and Lily. Thankfully, that split second passes as soon as it came. I was just out, checking out the local area and stuff. You know, Brick up. Good, man, good. I know you were that type to plan ahead. Anyway, what is this favor that you wanted? I was going to get some takeout, but I needed change. Wait, what? I gave you money last week and you still haven't paid me back. And I was starting to think you were cool. Kenji fishes around in his pocket and produces his wallet. As he counts out the 400 yen he owes me, I can clearly see at least two 10,000 yen notes. Hey, what the hell? You were borrowing money off of me when you got that much cash? Kenji hisses a little, realizing that he's been had. Get out of my case, man. It's bad luck to break a big note for anything less than half its value. It's the tycoon's rule. Last night's dinner is going to cost me 7 years of bad luck. 7 years. Don't you think that's enough cause to help someone out? I get a shorter sentence if I stole the stuff. My common sense screams at me to say something to him, but thankfully I restrain myself. Arguing a point like this with Kenji will just lead into further and more complicated discussions. Uh, yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe I should plan these things a little better. Yeah, man, I know, but I've got so much stuff to do. It's hard, and you're never around anymore, so I'm off on my own. We're supposed to be brothers in Brotherhood, remember? Yeah, I get you. Global conspiracy and such. I'll keep my ear to the ground. Kenji draws close enough for me to get a clear whiff of his scarlet tainted breath. You're better, man. You're already spending less time here. That's the first thing they do. They'll try to split us up. Divide and conquer. Sun Tzu said that. Roger that. Now I've got to be going. I got classes. You coming? Yeah, I'm tired. I stayed up all night just to make sure nothing was going to happen after splitting that note. As rational as ever, I see. Whatever. Night. Kenji scurries back to his room, and I hear him throwing his locks as I walk down the hallway. That is why some people can't roll their tongue, or why their second toe is longer than their big toe. Muto's beams a half-moon smile at us, obviously proud of his explanation of recessive genes. However, no matter how impressed that he is in science that defines who we are, the classroom seems to be reduced to a stupor. Why is that a bad explanation can make even the most interesting things seem worthless? I can see Muto deflate as he realizes that nothing he has said in the past half hour has sunk in. Whispered conversations start to break the silence, and like an avalanche, the noise level in the class starts to rise. Defeated, Muto identifies some questions from the textbook and sets to clearing off the blackboard. Almost as if if expected, Hanako packs up her things and leaves as soon as people start talking and laughing among themselves. The initial shock of seeing someone play so blatantly truant has started to fade, but it doesn't stop me from wondering. Is she leaving because she doesn't want people to speak to her? Or is it just the thought of people around her shattering her peace? Before I could think about that topic any further, the lunch bells ring. I wonder if she's simply taking the opportunity to leave early. The usual clamor of students exchanging books for lunch reverberates around the room, and while Misha is distracted, I grab my lunch and head out the door. Lily already sits in the tea room, setting out her lunch alone. So, Hanako's not here then. Oh, Hisao, how are you? I haven't met Hanako since this morning. I'm afraid. That's right, Hanako and Lily live next to each other. Somehow I think their morning conversations are slightly more grounded than Kenji's ramblings. Hmm, that's strange. She left class early, so I figured she'd come here. So she's still leaving class early? Huh? Yeah, I've seen her do it a few times. Lily drops her head a little, and her tone of her voice is notably depressed. It's very reminiscent of someone who is used to hearing bad news. I was so sure that she stopped doing that once you two became friends. Everyone has their own pace, I suppose. Well, I was wondering about just that today. Why exactly does she leave? I'm not entirely sure myself. I personally think it's because she doesn't want to be put in a situation where she has to answer someone. I have a flashback of my first meeting with her, when I thought she, when I thought she looked like a concerned, cornered animal. Maybe I wasn't far from the truth. But she seems fine with talking to you, and with me, a bit. It's a little more complex than that. I imagine that the first thing most people ask her is about her scars and what happened. She rarely talks about it with me, but I can tell that she doesn't like to remember whatever happened back then. Leaving class and running away from discussion is her preemptive strike, if you will. Huh? So then, how does that explain her talking to me? You said it yourself yesterday at breakfast. You tried to ignore her scars. Once she saw that you weren't going to ask her about that, she opened herself up to you. Hmm, guess you're right. Maybe, I don't know. You know her better than I, so I'll take your word for it. I wouldn't have worried about that. I'm sure you'll come to know her as well as I do soon enough. I welcome the prospect of her having a new friend, and the two of you have such similar interests. Well, I hardly count reading as a team sport. It is good to have company, though. That's my point. Hanako is still an average person at heart. She also wants company at times like that. Huh? I see. I think. To be honest, both of you still confuse me a little. That's only natural, Isao. We've only known each other for a little while. It's unreasonable to expect you to understand us, just as we can't understand you. But that is half of the fun of becoming friends, right? Yes, yes it is. Although, I suppose there is a matter of us being opposite genders. Men and women do seem to confuse each other quite often. She says this with a light giggle, finding amusement at the odd little details of life. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to start eating. No, go ahead. I think I'll eat something too. Forgot, I forgot books that I want to drop back at the library before classes start, so I better get a move on. You'll probably find Hanako there as well. If you do see her, can you tell her to stop by my room later tonight? I'd like to talk to her. You're not coming? Unfortunately, I have class representatives meeting later, so I'll be gone as soon as I'm finished my meal. Okay then. If I don't see her at the library, then I'll tell her in class. I'm sure she'll be back after lunch. We fall silent as we start to eat, and I take a second to reflect on our conversation. I've always thought that Hanako's shyness was simply due to her being self-conscious of her scars, but that is a pretty superficial way of looking at her. Just when I thought I was able to see through the fog of Lily and Hanako, I realized that I'm more lost than when I started. Lily quickly finishes her lunch, acutely aware of her meeting. I don't blame her. Shizune is the most likely going to be there, and I doubt that she wants to give her the satisfaction of another argument. I must be off. Same time tomorrow? Same time, same channel. I better head off too. I don't want to risk being late. Lily smiles gently, picks up her cane, and walks out into the hall. And an ugly picture again. I turn my back on Lily as we head the opposite directions. For some reason, I find myself hoping that she doesn't get into another fight with Shizune. As much as I like Lily, Shizune and Misha have been pretty instrumental in helping me adjust, even if half of our conversations are thinly veiled recruitment attempts. Then again, I barely know either of them. Maybe they were previously leaders of some kind of secret society, but their love for each other drove them apart. Man, I need to stop reading cheap fiction. It's rotting my brain. Either that or I've got to move away from Kenji and his bad influence. It's sad I can't tell the two apart anymore. I slide my books down the return chute and they crash into the car with a pleasant thud. Yuko, however, doesn't seem as impressed. It's like, Hisao, you scared me. Sorry, I thought you would be used to that by now. Or is the literacy level here so low that nobody borrows any books? Huh? No, I think everyone here can read fine. Yeah, never mind. There are some battles you can never win. Trying to explain jokes is one of them. My dad taught me that the hard way. Say, Yuko, have you seen Hanako about? She left class early, but she wasn't in her usual hiding place. I think I saw her sneak in before lunch. Oh, but I'm not supposed to tell anyone that. I just told you that I saw her leave. No need to stress out. Oh, of course. She's probably in the back. Thanks. Got any new books in recently? No, sorry. I'll let you know when we do, though. Okay. If there's one thing I know about librarians, part-time or otherwise, is that they appreciate people who would take a genuine interest in their work. I walked the now familiar path to Hanako's reading nook, picking out a few titles along the way. Sometimes I find it hard to discover a book that will interest me among the shelves. An author's name and a two-word title doesn't mean much in a sea of similar words. For that reason, I sometimes reread books that I read in the past. Better to bet on the favorite than a new runner. An unfamiliar title from a familiar author peeks out among the spines of its neighbors, so I remove it from the shelf. At least I'm not going over old material. As expected, Hanako sits on her beanbag, buried deep in a copy of Dance Dance Dance. Hi Hanako, how's it going? I fight back the urge to ask why she left class early. If Lily's suspicions were right, then asking about her that could have had the opposite effect. Best to leave it for the time being. Sometimes the best way to get an answer from someone is to never ask the question. Hello, Hisao. I'm fine. Something seems off. And after a couple of seconds, I realize what it is. Hanako's smiling. She looks as if she's pleased to see me. It's a nice change from the usual instinctively frightened reaction. It's something I hope I can see more as we get to know each other better. Good to hear. How's that book? I heard it's a trip. It's good, I think. I've only just started, so I don't really know. Fair enough. Let me know how it goes. I may borrow it once you're done. Sure. There's a good 15 minutes left in lunch. Not enough to really get into a book, but too much to stand around doing nothing. And Hanako's already returned to her reading, so I doubt I'll get much conversation from her. Oh well, better make myself comfortable. I slouch into a beanbag and crack open my book. The familiar story of the author leaps out at me from the very first line. As the sentences turn into paragraphs, I start to relax a little. But no matter how I try, I can't seem to get myself into the atmosphere of the book. This is partly due to the lack of time, but the more distracting factor is Hanako. Every 10 or so seconds she peers over the top of her book, but when her eyes meet, she quickly ducks behind the covers. I guess she did want to talk about something after all. What's up? You look like a prairie dog on the lookout. No, it's nothing. I've told you before, nothing means something when you say it like that. Hanako squirms a little in her beanbag, hoping that by changing her position, she'll find the word she's looking for. I, I was in an accident. Accident? Just now? Are you alright? Hanako shakes her head, her fur flowing around her shoulders in whisper, emphasis on the background of the pale and dark flesh. No, when I was younger. Realization crashes into me like a semi. When, when I, when I was... It's alright, Hanako. You don't have to tell me anything if you don't want to. Again, she shakes her head. No, I want... I have to tell you. Now we're getting a backstory. Ooh. When I was young, I was in a fire. My house burned down, and I nearly didn't make it. After that, I was alone. Hanako's eyes glisten in the dim light of the library, and I reach out to grasp her hand. It's okay, Hanako. You don't have to keep going. But I have to. Why? What brought this on? The last night, Lily told me about your heart. And I didn't think it was fair. Fair? That I knew about you, but you didn't know about me. I squeeze Hanako's hand a little. Don't be silly. But yes, I have a heart condition. I lean a little closer to Hanako. What I didn't tell Lily is that I had my first attack when a girl confessed to me. I smile a little to break the attention. But really? Really. I haven't heard from her for a while though, so I guess it's all over. I know it's all over. There's no other way to interpret what happened the last time I saw her. In some ways, not having heard from her again has helped me move on from that period of my life. So, now we both know a little more about each other, but you don't have to talk about things that if you don't want to. In fact, I feel a little bad about even thinking about that whole incident. I can almost smell the hospital's disinfectant burning at the back of my sinuses again. I imagine Hanako is going through the same thing now. When I was in the hospital, I went to the burn ward once, and only once. I was bored, so I went for a walk through all the wards. I went through oncology and thought I could take it. But when I got to burn ward, I turned around and went back to my bed. To think that Hanako would have spent months in a place like that, smelling nothing but corrupted skin, strong disinfectant, and sterilized air. The really bad cases were kept in isolated pods that no foreign objects could enter. That would have meant no reading. I would have gone insane if I didn't have any books in my hospital, and she said she was alone. Did her parents die? I have to ask Lily about it. I can imagine myself saying something dumb unintentionally. Thank you, Hisao. I haven't told many people about this. To be honest, I haven't told many people about my circumstances either. Then and I won't tell anyone either. Deal. I changed my grip on Hanako's hand to a handshake as the warning bells chimed through the window. Well then, we better head back to class then, eh? Sure. And we are headed to Act 3, I believe. The tint of the room slowly changes from the shine of the afternoon to the orange of dusk. A clock lazily ticking away the seconds, counting the background on the verge of hearing. But no matter how long I wait, the outcome cannot be changed. The diminutive plain piece makes a small click against the board. Like a wand spring, Hanako makes her move the only moments after mine. It's embarrassing. In comparison to my 5-minute moves, she seems to know exactly what she wants to do. Yeah, I want to mate too, but I know they're playing chess. Mate. Again, what does this make this? 3-2? Stalemates don't count. Damn, you're getting better at this every day. That or she's been holding back. I never have thought it, uh, not thought it when I first met her. But she really has a knack for this game. Chess seems to have become a popular pastime for the two of us. Hiding away in the tea room, playing a game of two after classes. From here, the students outside can just barely be heard milling about. The everyday noises from the below remind me a little of my life before Yamaku. Though I'm not by now well aware that it's a life that I'll never get back to. Fancy another game? I have to finish my homework. Oh, well, I'll see you tomorrow then. But what about this? Hanako points to the tea set surrounding the mostly empty chessboard. Don't worry about that. I've got it. Oh, okay. Good to see you. Later. Hanako departs as I start cleaning up the area. The occasional whistles and cheers from the sporting clubs outside become less frequent, eventually approaching silence. Part of me still wants to be in some kind of team. Since I've played soccer and other sports before my accident, I guess it's only normal to feel nostalgic about what I can't do anymore. But I have other reasons for my coming here so often, and I don't feel so bad about losing that part of myself because of them. Lily's a good friend by now. But it's the small exchanges I have with Hanako that feel especially dear. Small victories I feel every day as I see more of what she's under her self-imposed shell. That's why I come here most of all. As I'm putting away cups and saucers, I hear talking outside the door. Pausing for a moment to listen, I can make out that it's Hanako and Lily, and decide to go outside to investigate. Are you quite sure? I'm sure. Ah, Hisao! Hanako turns to see me with a look of mild surprise as she notices my approach. Lily must have caught her as she was about to leave. Oh my, Hisao is here as well. Afternoon, Lily. What's up? I was hoping, now that I finished with my class representative duties for the day, that I might have the two of you accompany me for a tea at the Shanghai. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves outside the school for a change. I'd be up for it. I think Hanako had work to do, though. It's not all that much. Wonderful. It seems that we decided then. I cast my eyes across the cafe as the three of us step in. As usual, there are only a handful of people around at most, and the noise level is quiet background hum. The hold Lily has on Hanako's arm remains just as it's been for the entire walk down the hill to the local town, though it's hard to say for which reason, for Lily's guidance or for Hanako's reassurance. For a moment, Lily moves her arm from Hanako's to retract her cane as Yuko quickly skitters over to where we stand, but soon replaces it right back to where it had been. Welcome to the Shanghai. May I take your order? She gives a deep bow, her well-delivered and professional introduction putting her in a good mood. It's a nice change from the norm for Yoko. Just tea, please. Hanako, Isao? I'll have a slice of pie and a coffee. Just tea, please. Coming right up. Please take any seats you wish. I'll be back shortly. Yuko gives a smile and a nod before shuffling to the counter, as we make our way to some empty seats by the window in quick measure. We slip into our seats, the girls on one side with Lily's cane propped up beside them, and I on the other, and I realize that Hanako's not doing something that she so often does. Rather than keeping her eyes pinned to the ground and hiding behind her blind escort, busily trying to convince herself that the world around them doesn't exist, she's merely keeping her eyes low and helping Lily around. Are you okay, Lily? You look tired. She lowers her head a little, looking somewhat embarrassed as she let it show. Class representative work can be very tiring, considering that it often means dealing with the student council. Very tiring indeed. How do other representatives go? Better than I, but not by much. Suzune is a harsh taskmaster no matter whom she deals with. It doesn't sound like you particularly relish the job. Why do you do it in the first place if it's that bad? Being a class representative is enjoyable, and I can deal with the responsibility well enough. It's just that the people involved are sometimes. She trails off, cutting her words at a rather opportune spot. It's hard to imagine Lily cursing, but I imagine if anyone could make her do so, it would be Suzune. Hanako looks to be withering a bit in the light of such conflict, but before I can sneer at the topic away a little, she stands up. Hanako? I'll be back in a bit. With that, she leaves for the restrooms. I suppose that's one way to deal with the situation, if that was indeed her motivation. Lily, however, looks a little wounded. Don't worry about it, I don't think it was you. But I think she's been getting stronger recently. You've seen it yourself, right? Right. That went a bit awry. Fortunately, Lily doesn't look offended. But by now, I really shouldn't be quite so scared on stepping on that landmine around her. Possibly. Sometimes I find it hard to tell, though. Silent reigns for a moment before two teacups, a pie, and a mug of steaming coffee appear in front of us. I notice that Yuko takes special care to place the teacup against the tip of Lily's fingers, letting to know where it is. Here you go. Thanks, Yuko. Thank you. With a quick and silent bow, the bespectacled waitress takes her leave. That's right. I was meaning to ask you something, and that would be the right time to do so. I'm all ears. Hanako's birthday is coming up, and I was hoping that you might get company for present shopping in the city this weekend. Hanako's birthday is soon? I suppose it would be a nice change to cheer her up a bit. Like Yuko, she's always seemed to be teetering on the edge of either panic or depression, and I've never seen her enjoy herself much outside of our chess games. All that aside, learning the layout of the city better with a friend keeping me company sounds like a good way to spend the weekend. Sure, I'd be happy to. Got any plans for what to do for her birthday? A party or anything? Hanako being Hanako, perhaps a low-key affair would be. Lily, Lily suddenly cuts herself short, leaving me to wonder why as she brings up her teacup to her lips and begins to sip. After a few seconds, I notice Hanako walking up to us over her shoulder. Lily's sleep must be very good indeed, as if it was the sound of the restroom door opening that tipped her off. Hanako takes her seat once again and wastes no time in drinking her tea. Soon the three of us are quietly eating and drinking as the sun sets. It's a nice way to spend the remainder of the day's light, and it makes me appreciate the quiet and serene surroundings of Yamaku. I think I'm really beginning to like life here, as isolated as it may be. I finished off the last of my coffee and rest the mug on the table while the girls talk between themselves. Coffee here is Coffee here is a little bitter for my taste, but still quite good. Better than what I can make for myself in any case. The girls' discussion is mainly focused on their respective reading preferences, which does give me a little curiosity about the related topic. Hey Hanako, I was just wondering, aside from chess and reading, do you have any hobbies or things you like doing? She's completely stopped in her tracks, looking quite surprised that anyone would be interested in asking such a question about her. It takes her a little time to formulate a response. Um, I guess I like singing a little, if I'm okay with computers as well, but I don't use them all that much. Singing's not exactly something I expect to hear. It's hard to imagine her singing voice, given how soft-spoken she is. Lily, on the other hand, simply nods. She must already know all of this, since she's been friends with Hanako for 1 year or so by now. But what about you? Me? She hesitates before quickly flicking her head up and down. It's only logical that she wanted me to talk about my hobbies after she told me hers. There's chess, obviously, but also, there was soccer as well, though I can't really do that anymore. Reading, which I picked up in the hospital. Um, ugh, this is surprisingly hard. Lily and Hanako look a little put off by the direction this is taking, and the more I think about it, the more I am too. It sounds like you've picked up quite a few things since your accident. Lily's candor is coated with probably the most positive spin one could put on what I said. Hanako, however, is silent. If the situation becomes difficult, her reaction always seems to be withdrawing into silence in order to prevent things from getting worse, or that or physically retreating. A soft ring gives us pause. As Lily reaches into her pocket, it becomes obvious that the sounds are coming from her phone. Sorry, it's okay. Lily gives a quick nod before shuffling out of her seat and taking the call a little distance away, to avoid disturbing the both of us. Must be nice to be popular. Haruko smiles, but doesn't take up the hook for further discussion. I just end up sitting back and closing my eyes, relaxing as best I can. It's nice and peaceful here. I wonder what it like would it be like to have a grown-up somewhere like this, rather than the city. You come from the city? Looks like I found something that she wants to talk about. Yeah, you could say I was a city kid, though, through and through. It sounds like a lot changed. It did. I'm still not quite sure what to make of it all, though. It's a bit of a culture shock in more ways than one. You must have gone through something like this when you first arrived at Yamaku, right? I imagine most students would. Then not really. Hanako gazes a little to the side, looking unwilling to go on. I tilt my head inquisitively, but a couple of seconds pass with no further answer. Uh, But we can't deal with that on Monday. The fallout hardly settled from the last. I understand. I'll try to talk her down. You know what she's like when she gets locked into an idea. Yes. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Then, goodbye. Lily's conversation ends with a snap of her phone closing. She returns to our table, but she doesn't take her seat. Need to go? Unfortunately, Cross representative work calls once again. I can come with you. It's all right, Hanako. I'll just be going straight to the student council. There's no need to spoil a fine evening on my account. Besides, if you were to accompany me on my way back to the school, who would keep our poor Hisao company? Okay, I can join you for a tea again later tonight if you like. I may well need it. We agree on that plan, and Lily says her farewells to the both of us, taking her cane after Hanako passes it to her. Despite my offer to pay for Lily's share, she insists on giving us her portion of the bill, and gives her regards to Yuko as she takes her leave. And then, we're alone. It may be all well and good to leave Hanako and me alone to have some time together, but it typically means that the two of us sitting near each other in silence for a while. I wonder what I must look like to Hanako. Never thought of myself as a scary person, but to have someone at my own age acting this way around me makes me intensely self-aware, as if it's my fault that she's so troubled. She might get more used to people if she were to stop being so cloistered in Yamaku. But then again, even when them people much older than her react so strongly after a single glance at her face, she may as well feel the same way as I do now. It's a real catch-22. If she stays at Yamaku, she won't get used to socializing, but if she leaves, any efforts she might try would get thrown back at her by the people who can't deal with her scouring. Yeah, want to order something else to keep us going? We haven't had much of a dinner after all. Hanako brightens and nods vigorously. Glad I brought that up, the topic for her. I catch Yuko's gaze, and she dutifully comes over and takes our orders. Would you like something else? I'll have a sandwich special and a hot chocolate. Bit late for coffee by now, Hanako. I'll have the same. With a nod and bow, Yuko turns on the ball of her foot and returns behind the counter, where she busies herself fishing out bread and condiments and working the machine to make our drinks. Not a word is said between us until Yoko comes back. She smiles and gives us our food and drinks, before moving to a customer who's called for her attention. I give up on the prospect of having much of a conversation with my companion and decide to just enjoy the meal, small as it may be. It tastes nice, as much as does most of the food here. After having a few mouthfuls, I notice something's missing, namely the sound of Hanako eating. Looking back to her, I see Hanako fidgeting a little behind her untouched sandwich. Not hungry? She shakes her head from side to side. Even as she does, a patch of hair she keeps over her right side of her face still does its job in hiding it almost entirely. It's not that. Aw, I was all ready to have your share too. You look troubled. Is something wrong? I'm startled by her thinking that I'm the one who looks troubled, but on second thought, she's probably right. My face that may have given away my emotions without me noticing, and she's hardly a dim in person. Quite the opposite. We're friends, right? Friends. From the tone of her voice and shrinking posture, it looks like though I've hit yet another landmine. Uh, this is another reason why interacting with her is difficult. Self-imposed physiological barriers she puts up between herself and others, including me and most likely even Lily. It's a shame that I think that we are. I'm a little taken off guard by Hanako's straightforward answer. All the more so since I was about to give up on getting any reply at all. Hmm, I see. Am I wrong? Sorry. No, it's just hearing confirmation of that from you is reassuring. To pick up on what you said earlier, ever since coming to Yamaku, I've been a bit uneasy about how I should relate with others. I find myself chuckling a little. It's surprising how much a relief that was. I can feel my face smiling as I pick up my cup of hot chocolate and bring it to my lips. That's hot. That's why. That's why I haven't eaten yet. I was waiting for my drink to cool down first. I guess I'll wait then. Both of us share a little chuckle, a situation that isn't really that funny, but for some reason, it feels like laughing is the most natural thing to do right now. I guess we're both a bit wound up about each other. I was so busy thinking Hanako was the one with something wrong. It took her to remind me that I was uneasy as well. But be as it be, but be that as it may, it still feels a little nice. A little nice to have someone thinking about me like that, in her own way. Following a long, quiet trudge up the hill to the into the school grounds, the two of us find ourselves between the two dormitories. Regular night patrols pass between the male and female dormitory buildings, both for security and to quickly raise the alarm for any medical issues that may arise. The guard currently on duty notices us and gives a quick nod as he continues on his way. A loud yawn escapes from Hanako's mouth before she has a chance to cover it. I have little doubt that she's fairly tired by now. I better be off to my room then. See you then tomorrow, Hanako. Good night. We separate and begin our walk our separate ways. Before I stop and look back, Hanako stands there waving to me as she smiles, and I smile and wave back to her. And after a few seconds, she turns and walks up the stairs to our dormitory building, disappearing through the door. These little moments we share between us feel like a small treasure. One thing is sure, I want to protect that small, delicate smile she so fleetingly wears around few people. I wonder about these feelings I have when Hanako's around, and when I'm able to do things for her, whether they may be the seed for something beyond what we share now. That story earlier with her and the fire and all that. Ooh, I worry about I worry what's gonna happen in the end of this. I am totally not looking forward to it. Whenever we get there. But yeah, I believe there are a few decisions coming up, but again, that branching path a few parts ago, if you whatever you choose afterwards, after that branching path, no matter what, you get the bad ending. If you make that one choice to help the student council. So yeah. But I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know how long this bad ending route takes, but hopefully not too long, because I would like to jump into the neutral and good endings. We need to end this route of Hanako on a good note. But anyways, I am prolonging this video. Let's end it right now. So next time on, let's read Katawa Shoujo. Even though it's Let's Play, but let's read. Yeah, we continue on with Act 3. See you guys then.